It's another chance. Go ahead, good then.
That's good. Yep.
Okay, another chance for us to begin again. Another chance for us to believe in our dreams, to walk in the direction of our dreams. And we are now also simulcasting on Facebook too. So if you want to listen somewhere wherever you are on Facebook, that would be great too. Hold on one second. I'm gonna try to try to set this up in the right way. It's kind of a funny. It's a funny thing if you ever saw it. It's a complicated mousetrap I've got going here, in the sense that it's fairly complex to be able to do the radio and also to simulcast onto Facebook. But it's a pleasure to do that. And then also I'm also putting it on YouTube, and YouTube you can just type in YouTube and Gateway, and then we go from there also. So it's a real pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday night. And as I said earlier, it's the very first. Hello, James. Nice to see you there. It's hello, Debbie. Nice to see you there too. It's the very first Sunday of 2024. You know, and it's strange. I don't know if you're like me, but we have. It's our first week of the year. Doesn't it seem already like a long time since Monday, the first of the year? I mean, to me, it's kind of like that. So it's like, how's that much time? It seems like a long time ago, and yet it's just the very first week, and it's always it's in the first of the year. I don't know about you, each of you, but there's always kind of this kind of recalibrating. You've just kind of moved through the holiday season, and hopefully for a lot of people they enjoy that, and there's a lot of nice experiences they're having, and then Christmas stops, and then suddenly you have that week afterwards, which is kind of like everybody's just kind of sort of gliding into the end of the year. In my business, I still sometimes do some very important things. Even then, believe it or not, we can get pretty busy in my personal injury attorney business. But nonetheless, also a pleasure. I went on the last day of my work day of the year over and I got a massage. And it was a fun experience. I haven't had a massage for a long time. So it was just a nice experience. But my point is, so we have that kind of glowing kind of holiday, and then the end of the year, and then suddenly Tuesday comes and we're back to start moving back up and moving again. And it's funny because I've been trying to go to the gym, and I've been in recent times. Actually quite a bit starting last year, in 2023. I've been going fairly actively to the gym and trying to keep my heart rate up and things like that, and doing weightlifting and things like that to just keep my muscles working. And you know, but now this last week though, the very first week of the year, boy, the club was very crowded. And I thought, yeah, I guess everybody has the same idea. They've been eating too much and they got to get themselves back together again. It's kind of funny. Uh, it, we're funny people, we human beings. We're funny, and we have all these different patterns, and a lot of us fall into the same patterns. I'm sure we go through the holiday season. I always seem to eat a little too much sugar and other things like that. And it's kind of funny. You can post and tell me what you think about it, but when you eat all that sugar, in spite of the fact that it's kind of fun in a way, it still isn't really that satisfying. It doesn't really make you feel that good. Are you like that too? Do you notice that you eat all these different things and you kind of wish you didn't eat them? Anyway, not even for any effect on your weight. It just doesn't feel quite the same when you eat like that. But anyway, the bottom line is it is fun though, and you interact with a lot of people, and maybe that's part of the magic too. It gets us out of our pattern. But then we got to start getting back on track in the new part of the year. So here we are in this new year, and was talking to my kids and everything. In fact, on Monday, on New Year's Day, we got together and actually, as a family, worked on writing out goals. Now, most of our goals were individual, although there were a few group goals too, and that was good too. And so, wherever you are, whatever's going on in your life, I encourage you to spend some time, get a list, and you can keep adding to it the goals you'd like to see happen in this year, 2024. I've done there's been a lot of research on goals, a lot of evidence stuff. And what they've discovered is people who write down their goals are much, much more likely to attain their goals. People who write them down are much, much more likely to attain them. And you might, no matter what, I mean, just write them down. That's in as much detail as you can, but I'll give you an example. We do live in a magical world, and I'll tell you something. I even talk about it in my book, The Gateway, which I do always encourage you to get. If you haven't got it, you can get it on Amazon.com, or you can come to my office and get a free copy here in Las Vegas. But there was a time when I was practicing these principles, which I still do, but And when I first came to town, uh, I hadn't met my wife yet, even, and I went out to dinner with my the man who became my best man at my wedding, dear friend of mine at a Japanese restaurant. We went together, and I had just written down because it was a new year, I think that was '85 or something, and or maybe I'd written down that I was like to get a sports car of some kind of like a Jaguar or something. So I went to dinner, and that was one of my unlikely goals to succeed. That was one that was didn't seem very likely. I just thought that was kind of a way out there one. Well, while I was at that dinner, it turned out he introduced me to a friend of his who said he was restoring some Jaguars, and he has one that he didn't know if he could finish restoring and might be willing to sell in its unfinished, restored state. So I went over to look at it, and true enough, it had all the parts were off of it, but it was a XKE. If some of you know what that is, a Jaguar XKE, and so I bought it, and I think I even borrowed some money to buy it, but it wasn't back for this was back in the '80s. But I didn't have much money back then at all, so it was kind of an adventure for me. And so I spent, listen, it's a full year restoring that vehicle, a full year. And when that car was finished after a year, it was absolutely beautiful. Wherever I would go, people would come over and want to talk to me. I guess that's why people like those fancy cars. That was one of the original fancy sports cars. The real sporty looking cars. If some of you remember, hey Linda, it's nice to see you. So that was an example where I didn't expect that at all. I wrote that goal down, and then out of the blue, events and circumstances came into my life that suddenly allowed me to make that goal come true. And that's why if I were you, I would write down some goals right now at the beginning of this year. Just write them down. Write down your weight goals, write down your health goals, write down your relationship goals, write down, friendship goals, business goals, all sorts of things. You know, it's somehow my dad lived to 99 and a half. My mom lived to 80, 86. And I can tell you for both of them, you've got to keep dreams in front of you if you want to stay happy. My dad, when he was 92, he went to Antarctica. When he was 95, he went with me to Costa Rica because we had to do some business. Hey, Denise, nice to see you. Nice to see you on here, I should say. Um, that's good. Yeah. It's funny. I'm looking at different people. Denise just posted something on here. Here's somebody. Hey, Tim, nice to see you too. Denise, I met the very first year I was here in Las Vegas. So it's been a long time now, almost like 40 years ago. So, one of the things I always say, my friends, is that you never know when somebody's going to come into your life that will become a lifelong friend. And for some of you, I'll make this prediction right now. This very year, people that you maybe have met, but now will turn into lifelong, really close friends, or you may meet new people you've never met yet that will become a lifelong friend for you, that will be life changing. Many years ago, back when I first got out of law school, I worked for a big, huge law firm that represented Ronald Reagan and a lot of other famous people, a lot of famous actors. It was a lot of fun, actually. Um, I met a lot of well-known, very famous people. It was a lot of fun, and so uh, when I was there, one of the people I met, it was an attorney that got hired around the same time as me, and he and I became good friends, and that friendship continues to today. He actually works with me. I don't hesitate to say for me, but he actually does work for me also. And he's been working with me and for me now for about 25 years. And he doesn't actually work in my office, but he's remotely connected to it. And it's one of my lifelong best friends that I met at this law firm. He's no longer there. I'm no longer there, but he works with me. I talk to him every day, just about during the week. And a lifelong friend has changed the trajectory of my life in many, many ways. He's just a very, very good lawyer and has been a great friend to me also, way, 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 way more than being a good lawyer, a good friend. And if I were to say any of thing to any of you, Andy who's on there, or Tim Gillette, you know what? Friendships are what's going to determine our ability to succeed in life. That's what I really truly believe. Uh, it's the people that we treat well and attract around us, and we hopefully treat them well. And in the occasional times we may fail at that, that hopefully they'll forgive us. It goes a little bit of all of that put together, and those people will be there to help you when you need help, and hopefully you can be there to help them when they need help too. And so the bottom line is the friendships that we accumulate in our life And that includes those of you that I'm seeing on there right now. Tim, like I say, a good friend of mine I met in a mastermind group, the Craig Duswalt Rockstar group. My friend Tim lives over in Texas, and has been a good friend of mine I've met. And then Andy Hangarter, who I met in a networking group, as a matter of fact, here in town a couple of years ago, a few years ago now, has been a good friend and has been very, very supportive. And so I'm just telling you, for all of you, that's something you might put down in your goal list. Two things in goal list. Maybe put down meet some good friends. And Ernie is another one of those good friends who just popped up on Facebook. Ernie, who'll be doing a prayer later on, I I met him at a networking group over 10 years ago. And Ernie and I don't like to talk about that because that means we're getting older than we realize. But the bottom line is, I met him at a group, and I think that's the only time I ever went to that group. But Ernie and I became friends, and now he's been on this radio show with me pretty much steadily almost for 10 years, doing prayers. And he's going to write a book with all these prayers in them. So I'm excited when those come out. I'm thrilled, actually. I can hardly wait. As long as I get my royalties, Ernie. I need my royalties. Actually, the only royalty I need is God's grace, because, yeah, those prayers you've done have been a beautiful thing, Ernie. But so, something you might write down for yourself, my friends. Yeah, 10 years, that's what Ernie's saying. You might write down for yourself, my friends, is the goal. Oops, I have to go to break in a second. The goal of networking more, getting out and starting to connect with new people, new groups, new events, because that's what kind of turns the magic on in life, so that you have a chance to meet those new people that are going to change your life. So this is Robert Sidell. You're listening to the Gateway Show. We're going to go to a break. I'll be back in just a moment. We're also simulcasting on Facebook, and it's a great pleasure to be with you here in this 2024, the first show of 2024. Stay tuned. I'll be back in just a moment. So, my friends on Facebook, I really am thrilled to be here. And I don't know if any of you go through this, but it's interesting. Tim says he met Ernie 12 years ago, and he says Tim says, Ernie, you're a good man, so he does know you. That's very interesting. Huh. I don't know how you met him, Ernie, but Tim, I don't know where you met Ernie, but that's the networking world, right? We don't know when we're going to connect with somebody. But again, I just cannot stress enough for all of us, that actually, hold on one second here. I can't stress enough to each and every one of us that we get out and open ourselves up to new events, and God's grace would be a great royalty. Andy says, yeah, that's how I look at it. You know, um, we're all such lucky people. If you and I are listening to this show and sharing this experience together, we are blessed people. We are blessed people on this earth, and the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. By the way, I love to say that for a very distinct reason, because part of what the right we're given as human beings, our authority, our domain, is the act of faith, the act of grace. And if I say the best is yet to come, okay, interesting. Um, interesting. um, that's great. I'm sorry. Ernie's saying he met Tim at Santa Fe Casino, Business and Expo. Well, wherever it is, it's great that you guys met already. But so when I say the best is yet to come, that's me taking an active position of faith, and that is, I'll just state this scripture. I've said it lots of times before, but it's an easy one to remember, and I happen to like it. It's Hebrews 11:1, and it's simply, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. The evidence of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. So it's kind of amazing to think about that. If you can have faith, that very faith can become substance, and that substance can change your life. So, uh, so what is substance? Substance is everything. It's money, it's health, it's vibrancy, medicine, and it's anything and everything you might need. So faith is substance, and it's the evidence of things unseen. So I challenge each one of you to take an act of faith in this beginning of this year, so fresh, right at the beginning of the very first Sunday of this year. That, hey, see, it's nice to see you there. Take a position. The best is yet to come. And you know what? If you do truly believe in God, no matter what doubts, questions, or uncertainties you may have, which anybody can have, by the way, I think it's a healthy part of the faith journey. If you trust in God, then the best is yet to come no matter what. both in this life and after this life. Okay, we're back on the air here. Here we go. Good evening. This is Robert Sidell. Great pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday night in here in Las Vegas on the Gateway Show live 6 to 7 p.m. On the number one talk station, and also simulcasting on Facebook and also on YouTube. If you ever want to listen to these later on, I upload these to YouTube. Just type in the Gateway Podcast Sidell, Sidell, and you'll find it. And once you could subscribe to it, and then that way you'll every time I post it, it'll let you know a new one's on there. And that way, if there's something valuable in the message, you can listen and hear it. Again, if it helps encourage you in some way or another. You know, I'm convinced personally. It's funny. God is has a great magic and wonder and mystery that we can never understand, I think. But tonight I went to the gym about 3 o'clock because I wanted to just kind of get myself energized and kind of in the right state of mind to do this show. And when I was leaving the gym, this guy goes, "Oh," he saw I was there with my son. He says, "Oh, William, how you doing?" And he goes, uh, he didn't even see me saying, he says, "Your dad's still doing his radio show?" And I looked over and he said, "Yeah, I still am. Right here." He goes, "Oh, yeah, that's coming up in an hour or so, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it is." So here I am down at a gym getting ready for the show, and there's somebody God places in my path asking me about this show. So, I know there's people out there, and for those of you listening on the radio, I want you to know we send you a blessing wherever you might be, however, whatever journey you're on. If I were to say anything in this new year, the the opportunity for us as human beings is to learn and love and support one another in faith and grace and healing and forgiveness. That is the opportunity we have as human beings. And that's what you and I have to remember. Because the world, I do probably watch too much news online. I don't watch TV, but I pick up a lot of the top stories. And you know something, uh, it can easily make us negative. Now it's funny because I have a section in my book about this, about having developing immunity to the negativity of the news. But one of the lessons is not to watch too much of it. So that's what we each have to do. But we have to be careful that the world, that's the topic tonight. Don't let the world get you down. I'm going to go ahead and put on a little bit of music right now. Let's see here. Just kind of a little background music. I want just to remind you that you are a beloved creation of the most infinite and high God. And I know sometimes that, like I said, it could sort of seem like, well, really, uh, where are you, God, and why does this happen or that happen in the world? I mean, I think those are normal questions for people to ask, even people who have faith. And by the way, I think any question you have, this is my worldview, but I feel real comfortable in this one. If you have a question to God about God, if you think God, anything you think about God, pray to God about it. And I like praying out loud. Go somewhere and pray out loud. Yeah, C's saying that she doesn't like to watch TV too much or the news too much either. Yeah, it's a little hard. I mean, you, but whatever you're dealing with, just confess it all to God. I'll give you an example how I can do that in my life. Okay, I'd say, "Oh God, you know what? I'm so grateful to be alive in this earth, but yet I sometimes see things that are troubling and unjust, and people are suffering and struggling, and in different parts of the world, or right even here in our own country or in our own city, and we don't understand why it has to be like that. But please help me in my faith to stay strong and solidified in my grace, your purpose, and direction in my life." And you see, if I can just even saying those words right now for me, just saying those very words, I can feel cleansing, healing in my mind. And that's what I think each one of us can do. And if you do that every day, if you feel a little bit lost, where do I go? Where do I head? We all have issues. I pray with my family all the time. Whenever we go out to dinner as a family, I pray before the meal. And one of the things as a parent, I think we have an opportunity to do is set a role model for our family, so they'll remember the importance of these things. I still believe, I know in this day and age some people question this, but that prayer is actually our most powerful tool. not just kind of hopeful, wishful. It is the most powerful tool we are given. Now, and I think a person who prays regularly and powerfully and strongly begins to, you plant deep seeds of grace in your life. And when you do that, you begin to harvest a crop of good fruit or goodness in your life. So it's every day spend some time in prayer, in gratitude, in forgiveness. Forgive yourself for your shortcomings as you would also forgive others as well. Or put it another way, forgive others as you yourself would choose to be forgiven. Sounds like the Lord's Prayer, doesn't it? But the point is that that's a good model for us to do. And for those of you that, you've probably heard me say it before, but I use this prayer every day, multiple times every day. It's called the Hawaiian Healing Prayer. And it simply goes like this. You think of any person, let's just say, I'll say my mother for a second. I had a very good relationship with her, but nonetheless, I'm going to say this. Mom, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'll say it one more time. Mom, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And you don't really have to get anything more specific. That's called the Hawaiian Healing Prayer. And because what happens is it helps clear unconscious blocks. We human beings can hold on to the silliest little things on an unconscious level. Maybe you think one day or one time you were not as kind or loving to one of your parents or your siblings or whatever, or a friend, or maybe you feel like you fell short in some way or another, which we all do, by the way, lots of times. But then you could just mention the person's name. That prayer was created by a man in a prison who was running a prison in Hawaii, I believe, and they were having a lot of violence and a lot of problems in prison, and he just started praying for his inmates, and he started doing this Hawaiian healing prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And he said that the incidence of crime and other problems began to go down dramatically. So I don't think you can underestimate the power of prayer. So whatever's going on in your life, sometimes it could be anybody. It could be a family member. You know, we just traveled through the holiday season, and it's almost inevitable that you will have said things that to some people you offended a few people, and maybe a few people offended you. By the way, I heard a report back of a little bit of that in my own life, which is kind of funny. In this particular case, it wasn't me, I don't think, but I heard about such a report. And it just reminded me, we human beings are very sensitive beings, and we have a lot of strongly held feelings and opinions, and we can easily get hurt or get emotions hurt and get hurt feelings or something. And so we constantly, if you think of anybody in your life that you think maybe there's some static there, so there's some stuff between you and that person, even if it's hardly ever been mentioned, just mention the person's name. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And I realized that thank you is a very important part of it, because it's like you're saying thank you for that forgiveness. And it just somehow goes into your unconscious mind and starts to heal your own mind. And then it starts to clear out the negative kind of garbage that stores up in our unconscious self. And we don't want to hold on to that. So in this new year, you might make it as a goal. I think you should make a goal to pray every single day. Now, I'm one of those people who prays a lot every day, but even no matter what, even if you spend 5 minutes praying in a day, pray every single day, and take your concerns, your worries, your doubts. I'll just, what time? I'm looking at time because we have 2 minutes before the break. There's a lot of people talking. I'm not going to get political. I'm just going to say this. There's a lot of political energy floating around right now, and a lot of people have a lot of intense emotions. That's actually been going on for years now, but again, it's still there now. It's sort of heating up once again. Supreme Court cases, different people, different opinions, all sorts of stuff. If you like politics, I guess it's fun, I guess, maybe on some level. But on the other hand, a lot of times people get upset and disturbed by it. So what I'm going to say to you is that we need to send prayers of peace and love and grace to all people. Even people, let's say, you politically disagree with. I can think of a friend of mine who frequently has fairly different political opinions than me, and has fairly strongly held ones. And he always wants to bring it up to me, even if I don't want to bring it up or talk about it particularly. And so, but he's a dear friend of mine. So that's a good example where I can say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. Because I don't like to hold separation and conflict and differences. And that's, to me, one of the areas I want to work on in my life. Because in our society today, you hear all sorts of stories. Oh, he believes in that person for president, well, he can't be my friend, or vice versa. And that's what I think we want to try to heal. We want to have more closeness, more love. And you can still have all your own feelings, you're going to have them, but let's try to reach in love beyond that to one another in this new year, 2024. And let's try to be a force in this show anyway. I want to make us a force of love, of healing, of grace, of illumination, of enlightenment, of restoration, rejuvenation. Don't you like those nice big words? Restoration, rejuvenation, resurrection. How about that? I was talking to one of my brothers yesterday, and he was talking about, again, he and I both believe that Jesus was in fact resurrected, and there's lots of evidence. But the best evidence is that his original disciples all died, and for that truth, and you don't die for something you know is a lie. And they would have known if it was a truth or a lie. And they all died for because they would have known. And the original disciples, it wasn't a teaching, it's something they saw, and they told. So I personally believe the resurrection is probably the most important historical fact in the human race, because it helps to show that we're not just bodies. And then beyond that, for those who accept Christ, it's whatever gift of salvation that he offers. Okay, we're going to go to a break. This is Robert Sidell. It's The Gateway Show. Stay tuned. I'll be back in just a moment. I'll stay with you on Facebook. So, my friends, let's just dare to join right now in love. Those of you on Facebook, whether you're listening to this later or now, C is saying, I told my children this very same thing. We all pray more, remind ourselves it's a temporary, but while we're here, let's do good things and be more positive and thank for all that we have. Yes, that sounds great, C. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. We have to do that, C, if we believe in prayer. And it doesn't always mean that everything you pray for is going to happen. I think anybody who's lived on this world long enough knows that. But this other side of it is, I can tell when I meet people if they're regular prayer people, if they pray a lot. Because a person, it's going to sound a little strange, but I'll say it anyway. A person's aura changes if they pray a lot. Because they're connecting to the presence of God. They're making a conscious, intentional decision in their soul to connect to God. And when they do that, it starts to create an aura, an energy around them, and they just don't project the same kind of energy or feelings. So wherever you are, any one of you, I just dare to, when you end the day, when you begin the day, just pray and say, God, may your will be done in my life today. May I be an instrument of your love and grace wherever I go. Forgive me for my shortcomings and bless me in my strengths. Something as simple as that, a simple little prayer. When you get to the end of the day, say, God, forgive me for whatever shortcomings I've had, whatever ways I may have fallen short today. I accept your forgiveness, and I release it all to you, to your infinite intelligence, that you might take whatever has happened in this day and turn it into good. So, what could be a healthier way to end a day than to say, God, I surrender all things to you and the outcome of all things to you. I've studied many of the great religions of the world, including Christianity, and I accept the grace of Jesus Christ. But I believe that most of the great teachings say that if you can surrender outcomes to God, you'll be much happier and more effective. In other words, you do your part and let God work out the answers, the outcome. And I guess I can say the same thing even for this radio show. Whatever the outcome is supposed to be, I let that be in God's hands. But you know what? Then we get to do our part too, don't we? So wherever you are right now that's listening to this now or even later, I ask you to open your heart right now to love. Open your heart to grace. Open your heart to healing. And just open yourself as we're speaking to just being a magnet and a light of divine love. Open yourself to that right now. Dare to just trust. Oh, okay. Cat Bird is saying she just had to take her mom off life support, and I felt I needed to hear this. Thank you. Kat, I've lost both my parents, and that's obviously a transition. Oh, okay. We're about to go back on the air. I'm going to talk about that in a second, though, Kat. Good evening. This is Robert Sidell. It's the Gateway Show. It's the first show of this year. I'm just trying to plant some positive energy. Let's seize this year. Let's create it. Let's have the courage to create something magnificent, regardless what the world is saying. We get to create our own destiny through our own relationship to God. We don't have to get sucked into the stories of the world. And I mean, we might get influenced a little bit, but we can become a light that in the darkness and create joy and happiness and healing wherever we go. That's one of our great opportunities. So, and I just was seeing right here that Kat is saying, I just had to take my mom off life support. I felt I needed to hear this. Thank you. I felt I needed to hear this. Thank you. So, Kat, like I was saying, I would never want to. Oh, she's still breathing on her own. Okay. Well, we'll just simply have to trust that she'll be here for the time she's supposed to be here. Who knows? She could surprise you and stick around a while, Kat, or maybe not. But, in my own personal family, I've had to deal with, everybody as they get older has to deal with life and death. That's just the truth, right? We all know that. But I had to deal, when I was quite a bit younger, I lost two different brothers at lost one brother at age 48 and another brother at 55. And then I lost my dad at 99 and a half, so he had a nice long life, and my mom at 86. But I ended up having to counsel my dad related to both my brothers passing, because here's a dad who suddenly lost two of his kids, and that was very hard for him, of course, let alone any hardness for me. And one of the things I think I was able to reassure him about is that we are divine beings. We have a relationship to an infinite and loving God, and we don't stop at the end of this life. And whatever goodness God has will take care of us after this life too. Now, in spite of me saying that, when there's somebody close to us that makes their transition, which is another word for dying, it still can be a big adjustment for us, because we're used to these people in our lives. No matter how convinced we are that good things are happening. I lost my father-in-law. My wife's dad died about a year and a half ago now, and we actually had his memorial service just about 1 year ago now. And and he had been so close in our lives. In fact, I saw him 2 days before he died. He came and heard a talk I gave, believe it or not, at my Kiwanis club, and it was a very sweet experience. And he gave me a nice hug, and I was so glad. It was a nice last memory I have of him alive. And 2 days later, I get a call. He died. It was a big shock to everybody, to be honest with you. He was in his late 80s, or about 86 or 87. But my point is, no matter how assured we are that he's gone on to something good, it doesn't mean that we don't have a change. And C is praying for Kat, saying that's very nice. I think that's what we should all do, is pray for Kat's mother, actually, so that whatever's her divine time and peace will come. And if her transition is to come soon, that it comes peacefully. And that's really what we want for people. It's when my dad he stopped eating about a month before he died. And so he would eat, and about an hour later or 2 hours later, throw back up again. And so we knew you can't live too long like that. And he was at home, and I asked him, because he was still talking and everything, and I said, Dad, so I said, we get you in a feeding tube in the hospital or something. And he's 99 and a half, and I've been very close my whole life. And he says, no, Bob, he goes, I've had a good life. It's my time. So, although it's so funny, and Janet was on here, he'll tell you, he told Janet still a week before he died, he says he wasn't sure if he was ready to go yet because he was still having too much fun. So that was pretty funny, but it's just kind of funny. But my point being, though, is, so at that point, we knew he would be going, but sometimes we have a little bit of choice. And I don't know how much choice people have when they actually pass. I of course don't know the answer to that. But with my dad, he ended up dying on New Year's Eve or New Year's morning in 2013. And guess what? Because I knew he wasn't doing as well, I went and spent the night at his house that night. So I was there at his house when he made his transition. And he even asked me, believe it or not, it sounds kind of funny to say, but it's true. He'd asked me probably a few months before, or even a month or something before. He goes, now, Bob, if you're the one who finds my body, is that okay with you? And I said, yeah, that's okay. So it's kind of interesting that people think about things like that. So I was there, and And by the way, I just say one thing positive for you in that experience with my dad. That morning, about 5 in the morning, I woke up. The house was very peaceful and quiet. I was lying there in bed at his house, and I had just had this dream where I was with my dad sitting somewhere down at the beach, and we were in a trailer, and the door was open, the window was open, and a beautiful, warm, comfortable breeze was blowing through the window. And I was thinking, boy, my dad's doing really well. He's so happy. I wonder why he's so happy. I'm going to have to remember where we are because this is a good place for him. And so right after that, I thought, well, I guess I'll go check on him. And guess what? I went and checked on him, and he'd made his transition. He had just passed. So, when I personally choose to believe that I was experiencing him after he died on a spiritual level in that dream, because he was so happy and joyous, and I was just kind of content to be with him and very happy to be with him at that moment. And then I went and actually discovered he had made his passing. So, I could give you quite a few stories like that. I'm not going to right now, but I'm quite comfortable that we absolutely go on beyond this life. Just as you are, there's a saying in the Bible that says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we are. I mean, look at our bodies. I mean, it's almost inconceivable to imagine. Here, you and I are in bodies, and okay, I'm 71 right now. I've been in a body that's been carrying me around on this earth for 71 years. And sometimes I put food in that may be the most ideal. And Marie's saying beautifully passed in his own home. Yes, you're right. It was beautiful that way. Very peaceful. Yes, it was. That's all I want to say. In fact, it was very peaceful. I felt very content there. I could have just left it right like that and frozen time, and I would have been very happy. But of course, you can't do that. It's just the way it is. But still, it was a very peaceful moment in time. Just like I was very grateful to have been there at that moment. But so for each of us, I want you to contemplate that you've been given a body that's so magical and wonderful. You can take all these different kinds of foods and feed yourself, and you can generate the warmth of your body, and your heart beats, and you can see, and new things come along and heal us. We're in a time where we can even improve on them some. I got my cataracts removed about 3 or 4 years ago now, and I didn't think I saw that bad, but nonetheless, they were bad enough that I could get them removed. And you know what, my friends? I got lenses put in. They've got multiple levels of focus. I don't need reading glasses. I don't need contact lenses. I don't need anything anymore. And that's an improvement. For up till that age of my life, I had to put on contacts every morning, and every night I'd take them off. Hey, Janet, nice to see you. In fact, I'll say something funny to you. My wife and I used to say, because when I took off my contacts, trust me, I couldn't see very well. If I didn't have my glasses or contacts on, I couldn't see very well. I mean, you could be 4 feet from me, I could hardly see your face. And so my wife and I used to say that's God's way of dealing with the fact, so we don't have to see the wrinkles of our spouse, anymore. But now I've got these corrective lenses, so much for that story. So because I see clearly all the time now. But still, that's a huge change in my life, and it actually got better. And so there's lots of things like that. People get replaced hips when they need to. I was talking to one of my brothers yesterday who got his hip replaced, and he said it's a huge difference for him. And so we've all been given chances to have a higher quality life than ever before. And so here we are in this world with more medical possibilities, so we can navigate into our later years of life in a healthier, more vibrant, more powerful way. There's no reason why you and I shouldn't make some of our greatest contributions in our entire lives. I'm saying 71, probably the last 5 years of my business have been some of the most successful years in terms of reaching out to new clients and all sorts of possibilities. So, yeah, who would have guessed that? I mean, that's all after the normal age of retirement. So, you don't know in your life. Joel Osteen talks a lot about this. There's the I don't know if any of you have heard this, but it's a true story that there's a kind of bamboo when it's planted. You water it for like 5 years straight, and during that time, it's actually building up roots underground. But up above ground, it doesn't look like anything's happening. So if you were just looking from up above ground, guess what you'd think? You'd think, boy, this is a waste of time. Why am I doing this? But then suddenly, in the 5th year, this bamboo shoots up, and it could grow 50 feet in 1 year or even more. And so, what the point of that story is to remind you that in your life, you might think, I'm getting old, I've done this, I've done that, it's never borne much fruit. But you know what? Um, the roots may be developing. All the prayers you've been making all these years have been planting seeds and grace and roots. And then suddenly, a new friend like Andy or any of you different friends in my life can walk into your life, and suddenly your life gets much better. And then also, old friends can be there and blessing you. I have friends I get together with. I'm laughing about this a little bit, usually about once a year up in the mountains. And I've known literally since kindergarten. And we're as different as can be in some ways and very much the same in other ways because we've shared the exact same upbringing. We're in Boy Scouts together. So, but the point I'm getting at, so you may have old friends that are going to bear a bigger fruit in your life today. And you also may have new friends that are going to show up that are going to enrich your life in ways you would never expect. So I think you should be open to that. Oops, I'm going to have to go to a break. This is Robert Sidell. It's the Gateway Show. When we come back, Reverend Ernie and I believe Janet will be there too to share some prayers with us. So stay tuned. This is Robert Sidell. Happy New Year. This is the beginning of a new year for all of us. And great things are coming. Stay tuned. I'll be back in a second. So my friends, the secret for you and I in this year, more than any other time, is that we need to not let the world talk us out of the good that God has waiting for us. That's always the opportunity. My mom and dad were so good that way in reminding me to believe in myself, don't give in to failure, don't give in to doubt, don't give in to self-condemnation. It's so easy to have those things crop up in our minds, but don't give in to those feelings. Don't give up. The blessing for my life, and probably many of you have the same blessing in your lives, I think you can always trust that your parents wanted the best for you. And so if you're ever feeling doubt, what should you do in your life? Hello, Gail. I haven't seen you for a while. May God bless you. So whatever is happening in your life, I want you to dare to trust that the very best stuff is coming now and in the future. The very best stuff is coming now and in your future. You just have to trust that. Your rational, logical brain may say, no, it's not. I'm getting too old, or I got this problem, I have that problem, But you know what? Even including those problems, whatever they might be, there are answers for a lot of those problems. There are healings, there are answers, there are treatments, whatever. And there are resolutions to conflicts. There's new possibilities for your business, for your dreams, your careers, whatever dreams you have. There's new technologies to let them come into reality. So dare to know that the best, I've studied a lot of people, and a lot of time, some of the people, their greatest outreach happens in their 70s and after. Lots of people, actually. You'd be surprised. A lot of people, their 70s and after. So you know what? Wherever you are, all of you that are listening on Facebook, or those of you that are listening to the radio, my prayer for you right now is that miracles of joy, peace, love, and happiness come into your life this year, and you become a beacon of hope and optimism for the people around you. That you forgive yourself your shortcomings and bless yourself in your strengths. And remember, you can do great things with the grace of God behind you. With the grace of God behind you. So I invite each one of you, just remember, you are living beacons of God's grace. Oops, hold on. I got to get ready now for... Okay, there's Ernie. Oh, that's good. I don't see Janet. Hopefully she'll be on there in a minute. Can you hear me, Ernie? Okay,
yeah, I can hear you, Robert.
Perfect,
yes.
Perfect. We'll be back on the radio in just a second. Hey, Marianne, hi, nice to see you. Good evening, my friends. It's Robert Sidell. It's a great, great pleasure being with you on this first Sunday of 2024. And there's a saying, name it and claim it. Have you ever heard that before? Name it and claim it. And I'm not too much into funny, different ways of saying things. Doesn't really matter. But the idea is this. Say, I claim and accept the blessing of the infinite good of God in this year of my life, not only for me, but for all people. It's like, if we've been given the power of faith, which the Bible says we have, then you know what? why don't we use that power of faith in a positive, healthy, wholesome way? And that's, I know every one of you listening believes in that, or else you wouldn't be listening to this show. So again, I'm going to hold a faith for each of you. It's going to be a fantastic year. And I'm going to hold a faith that's going to be a fantastic year for all of us, our country and the world. All right, we got Reverend Ernie and Janet there. Hey, it's good to see you both. How are you both doing?
Oh, good.
Great.
Good, Robert. Wonderful.
Okay, I think we're online here. I mean, I think everybody can see you now. Um, so, Reverend Ernie, what do you want to share with us tonight?
Well, Robert, the prayer for today is don't let the world get you down. Believe in yourself. You are a winner. Dear Lord, thank you for this blessed day and for our adventurous life journey. We reach out to you now from faith within us and ask you to walk besides us, to not letting the world to get us down. Believe in ourselves and we are winners. Help us hold on strong through the trials and storms. We acknowledge that we are blessed with divine strength, patience, experience, hope, and love. May we not lose courage, but by faith live in the higher level. Help us keep our faith strong through prayers and meditations and spreading your love through us in our day-to-day lives. We pray to be filled with your light and to know that all is divine in this world as you have planned and instilled within each one of us. Lord, help us to walk surrounded with grace and live our life in faith, miracles, compassion, caring, and believing in ourselves that we are winners, creating heaven on earth. And so it is. Amen.
Ernie, that's a beautiful, beautiful prayer for this first show of the year. What a great! We should, if you could post that, you should post it online. That prayer, because I know you're going to put it in a book also, but that's a great
Yes.
prayer. I'll tell you what. If any one of you just read that prayer every morning, I guarantee your year would go much better. If you feel seriously, Ernie, you've covered it all. You've covered it
Thank
all.
you.
I love it. You did a
Thank you.
great job. I love it. All right, Reverend Janet, and you always do a
Yep.
great job too in your own. And you know what? Each of you are two different, unique approaches, aren't they? And that's good. I'm glad you have your own unique approach. So, how about you, Janet? What do you want to share?
So I just opened a book a little bit ago and this was laminated. I think somebody I know wrote this, but it's based on A Course in Miracles. I'm sure all the words, maybe it's a prayer from something that she found. I really don't know. You remember Sheila with the red hair?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So that's where I got it many years ago and I laminated it. So I want everyone just to think of a situation or a person or whatever that you would like to see go a different direction, whether maybe it might be yourself, might be a situation at your workplace or whatever it is, just kind of picture that in your mind as I read this prayer. Beloved Holy Spirit, Spirit of wisdom and love within me, I offer you my relationship with blank for guidance, inspiration, and healing. I give you all my thoughts, all my judgments, all my perceptions of myself and of blank. I give you all the pain from my past. I give you any investment I have in reliving the past. I give you any attachment I have to being right. Release me from everything within my mind that would keep me bound to limitation, suffering, forgetfulness, and fear. I want to be free. I want to experience my wholeness and my innocence. I do not know the way to healing, but I trust that you do, and so I place my hand in yours and let you lead me. Please direct my thoughts and guide my vision. Help me to see in this situation only what you would have me see. Help me to see in myself only what you would have me see. Show me the way to healing and to peace. Thank you very much. Amen.
But Janet, it's interesting what you wrote there or read there is also equally just like Ernie. Fantastic advice. It's funny. You say she with the red hair. I actually remember very well going to visit her when she ended up getting cancer and passed, and I visited her when she was in the hospital or in hospice actually, and it was a very kind of intimate, close moment in time. And it's just a reminder she was a very kind and loving person, but for some reason it was her time to not be here. So is that something she herself wrote?
I don't know if she wrote it or she found it, but she shared it in a class that I took from her and John when she was married to John Marshall. Do you remember John Marshall?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So I took a class and I just was guided to get this book about an hour ago and find something to read tonight, and this fell out of the book.
I love it, and I remember her very well, and she's very sweet. I guess I'll leave it there. And John, I like very much. Also, he lives. I think he moved up to
Idaho.
Idaho. Exactly. I know. So I do actually stay in touch with him a little bit too. So, all right, we're almost at the end of our show here. Ernie and Janet, you both have made wonderful things, and here I've got a lot of fun people checking in tonight. Normally don't do it. Terry Katie, Terry K. She just posted on there "Walking the Light" on Facebook. So. And James Breeze, thank you. He's saying, wish us all a blessed week. And and C is saying, Janet, that's a beautiful prayer. Can you please share it with us? See, she wants that too. If you could put that down on Facebook, I don't know if it's too much for you to write down or not, or maybe just take a picture of it.
I told you it's laminated. I'll just take a photo
There you go.
and post it.
That's perfect. That would be perfect. So listen, we're almost at the end of our time. I just want to thank Janet and Ernie for each of you sharing and each week your precious time, and all the people that are tuning into this show. And now in your messages, people will be on YouTube also. People can listen to this as a podcast in addition to Facebook. They just go to Gateway Podcast, Sidell, and they can find it. And you guys, so yours will be immortalized for posterity for there too, your prayers. So thank you so much. We're out of time. May God bless each of you. May God bless all of you listening on Facebook, and may we walk into a fabulous new year with unexpected blessings of miracles of every good thing. Friendships, love, grace, healing, prosperity, all good things. So Robert Sidell, wishing you the best until next week. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
God bless.
God bless. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ernie. Happy
Bye
New Year
now.
to you both.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bye.
C is saying, I do want it, please. I need to read it every day, and to my children as well. That's pretty good. You guys are touching people. That's great. All right, listen, I will talk to you guys later, and God bless you all every week, all of you. Bye-bye.